Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mariah and I talk about books and bookish things on my channel. If you're returning, you may notice that I'm not filming in my usual spot. And I'm just having a really rough week mental health wise. I'm not sleeping very well. So I'm tired, but I still wanted to get a video out today. So we're filming at my desk. I wanted to give an update on my reading progress for the month. I also wanted to talk about how you can read more. So let's start with how you can read more and move on to my reading progress and then end with what I'm currently reading and my thoughts so far. My biggest advice for how to read more is have multiple methods that you read. So for me, I have an audiobook, an ebook, and a physical book going at all times. It's just something that works for me. I know that a lot of people are hard of hearing and it's hard to listen to books. So I don't want to say like, oh, turn to audiobooks if you know, because that's just not cool. So I would say find what works for you, or make sure that you're not relying so much on the bigger, heftier books. I make it a part of my daily to-do list to read because otherwise I just won't with my schedule and I will just focus on everything else or play Animal Crossing or Yoshi's Crafted World until the world feels less shitty. That's my two biggest tips. Make it a part of your self-care to-do list. Self-care is rough and it's hard to do in 2020. I know, I'm not saying like, oh, go take a bubble bath, but I am saying try to prioritize things if this is really something that means a lot to you, but don't punish yourself if you're not meeting your own goals. I was really upset that I only read 12 books last month and I've only finished a couple books so far this month, and my fiance was like, it's in the long term, is it really that important how many books you read a month as long as you're doing something that you enjoy? And I think that's a solid point. So those are my tips for reading more. Prioritize yourself. Prioritize your enjoyment. Try different methods, see what works best for you. I tend to read faster in ebooks than I do in physical books, but I tend to enjoy reading physical books more. So you just have to sort of balance it out. Now on to my updates for my TBRNM and my Becca's Bookoplathon progress. I finished 4 books so far. Today's the 10th. So I finished Of Giants and Ice, which was for my TBRNM game, which it was Fee's pick. I gave that 3.5 stars. Yeah. I've also finished Black God's Drums, which was for the prompt highest rated on Scribd, and that was 4 stars. It was so good. I finished The Girl Who Escaped ISIS, which is a memoir, and I gave that 4 stars. And I finished Daughter of Kali, which was for Becca's Bookoplathon, YA. Becca's Bookoplathon, and I gave that 3 stars. It was for the prompt a book with fire on the cover. I'm currently reading Girls of Paper and Fire, which was my chance card for Becca's Bookoplathon. I'm reading Winterwood, which was one of my TBR jar picks for my TBRNM game, and I'm reading Refugee, a book by or about a refugee. So Girls of Paper and Fire is my physical book, Winterwood is my TBR jar pick, and Refugee is a book by or about refugee is my audiobook. I have about 200 pages left in Winterwood. I have about 200 pages left in, yeah, about 200 and 250-ish pages, well, 240-ish pages left in Girls of Paper and Fire, and I have 3 hours and 54 minutes left in Refugee. I'm really enjoying Girls of Paper and Fire. It's kind of slow moving in the beginning, but I'm really enjoying it. I am really enjoying Winterwood. It's kind of slow moving, but the writing style is superb. I really like the flowery, like almost poetic nature of it. It makes me want to curl up in a mountain cabin with a blanket and a roaring fire and a cup of tea or hot chocolate or apple cider and just read this book. It's so good. And Refugee, historical fiction isn't my favorite, and this is like historical fiction and a contemporary mixed together. It tells the story of 3 different refugees. Joseph, who's a Jewish refugee from Germany to Cuba in 1934. Isabel, who's from Cuba to Miami in 1994. And Muhammad, Mahmoud, who is a Syrian refugee in 2015, heading to Germany. And it's telling their tales and the struggles that each are going through. And it's hard-hitting. It's really hard. None of these kids are older than like 13. It was a middle grade. I thought it was going to be more of an adult book, but it's a middle grade. That's really it this week, guys. I know that this is a short video. I just wanted to get a video up. If I seem a little out of it, know that it's that I'm okay. I'm just trying to adjust to things. Yeah. So that's this week's video. What are your tips to the question of the day? What are your tips for reading more? What books are giving you serious fall vibes right now? Especially we're in September, fall vibes have officially started. And what books would you recommend for that? I don't have a drink with me today, so I guess we'll just wrap it up here. So all the best coffee, wine, and books to you. Cheers.